Emma Harper had always loved mornings, even the quiet ones when the world seemed to wake slowly. She would sit by her kitchen window, drinking a cup of tea, listening to the distant hum of cars on the suburban street, and watching the neighborhood come alive in its own gentle way. Her house was small, cozy, and filled with memories she had collected over the years, photographs of trips, books stacked haphazardly, little souvenirs from places she had visited. Yet, despite the warmth of her home, Emma often felt a quiet loneliness that clung to her like the morning fog outside. Her life was predictable, peaceful, but something was always missing. It was on one such morning that the first note appeared. She had been preparing breakfast when she heard a knock at the door, soft and polite. When she opened it, a small bouquet of wildflowers was held out to her by a young man she recognized immediately. Ben Harper, the son of her next-door neighbor, had grown from a shy little boy into a polite, gentle young man in his early 20s. He smiled at her, a little uncertain, and handed her the flowers. "Hi, Mrs. Harper," he said quietly. "I thought you might like these." Emma felt her heart warm at the gesture. The flowers were simple, not expensive, yet there was something in the way he held them, almost nervously, that made her smile. "Thank you, Ben. That's very kind of you," she replied, taking them with a gentle hand. There was a sweetness in his expression, a quiet sincerity that lingered in her mind long after he left. In the days that followed, Emma began to notice little acts of thoughtfulness from Ben. A cup of coffee left on her porch one morning, a handwritten note wishing her a good day, or even helping her carry groceries inside when it rained. Each gesture was small, ordinary in its way, yet it left a mark. Emma found herself looking forward to seeing him, wondering what thoughtful thing he might do next. She tried to convince herself that she was simply appreciating his kindness as a neighbor, but deep down, a flutter of something else stirred in her chest. It wasn't just the gestures themselves. It was the way he seemed to notice the little things, how she preferred chamomile tea, how she liked her garden arranged, how she smiled at certain songs on the radio. Ben seemed to pay attention in a way that went beyond casual politeness, and yet Emma held herself back. He was the neighbor's son, young and full of life, while she had long passed the days of romantic surprises and new beginnings. She told herself repeatedly that she was reading too much into it, that perhaps it was simply a kind-hearted boy wanting to be helpful. But one rainy afternoon, that careful distance she maintained began to crumble. Emma had been feeling tired, worn down by a particularly long week at work, when another knock at her door interrupted her solitude. This time, Ben stood there with his hair damp from the drizzle and a small, wrapped package in his hands. There was a nervous hesitation in his movements, quiet intensity in his eyes that made her heart skip unexpectedly. "Hi, Mrs. Harper. I brought this for you," he said softly, holding out the package. Emma smiled, touched by his thoughtfulness. She took the package and untied the ribbon to find a small, handmade candle. Its soft lavender scent filled the air as she held it, and for a moment the world outside seemed to fade away. "Ben, this is beautiful," she said, her voice softer than she intended. "You really didn't have to?" "I know," he interrupted gently, "but I wanted to. I thought you might like it. It's just a little something to make your evenings nicer." There was something in the way he looked at her then, a mix of shyness and quiet earnestness, that made her stomach flutter. She quickly looked away, embarrassed by the unexpected warmth rising in her chest. She told herself again, this is just kindness, nothing more. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling that there was something deeper behind his gestures. Over the next few weeks, Emma found herself thinking about him more often than she wanted to admit. She noticed how he walked down the street, the way he waved at neighbors, the quiet intensity in his brown eyes when he concentrated on a task. She started to look forward to the small notes he left, reading them over several times, wondering at the care and thought behind each word. One evening, she decided to step outside and water her small garden, and there he was, standing by the fence that separated their yards. He had been trimming a bush, his hands gentle and careful. He looked up, smiled, and waved. The sight of him, so young, kind, and thoughtful, made her heart race in a way that was unfamiliar. "Evening, Mrs. Harper," he said, a hint of nervousness in his voice. "Evening, Ben," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. They stood for a moment in silence, listening to the distant hum of the street, the rustling of the trees, and the occasional chirp of a bird. Then he spoke, his voice softer. "I hope I'm not being too forward with everything." Emma felt a lump in her throat. "No, not at all." "Thoughtful. Appreciate it." He nodded, as if unsure whether to continue, then added, I like seeing you happy. Even if it's something small, I want to make your day a little brighter." Emma's heart ached in a way she couldn't explain. She had never been the type to expect gestures like this, to have someone pay such careful attention to her days. She wanted to tell him that she felt the same, that she had noticed him too, that she had been looking forward to his presence more than she cared to admit, but the words wouldn't come. The rain began again, soft and steady, and Ben straightened, brushing a strand of damp hair from his forehead. "I should get going," he said reluctantly. "Don't want to get sick." Emma nodded, watching him. "Leave." She lingered in the garden for a long while, feeling a mixture of warmth and longing. His presence had become a quiet comfort in her life, something she hadn't realized she needed until it was there. Days turned into weeks, and their interactions continued. Emma found herself waiting for his knocks, for his notes, for his quiet smiles. The connection between them was unspoken but undeniable, a thread that pulled at her heart without demanding anything in return. She would catch herself imagining what it might be like if their relationship were different. Circumstances allowed her to explore the warmth that had grown between them. Yet she always pushed the thought aside, telling herself that it was impossible, that it was only her imagination. Then came the evening that changed everything. Emma was sitting by the window, watching the rain fall in silver sheets, when there was another knock at the door. She opened it to find Ben standing there, looking more serious than usual. His eyes were earnest, almost pleading, and there was a tension in his shoulders that immediately made her heart race. "Mrs. Harper, can we talk?" he asked. Emma hesitated for a moment, sensing that this was more than another simple gesture. She nodded and stepped aside, letting him in. He closed the door behind him, and they moved to the living room, the soft glow of the lamp casting a warm light over them. Ben fidgeted with his hands, avoiding her gaze. "It's about the flowers, the notes, the little things I've been doing," he began. Emma waited, her curiosity mounting. "It's a reason for all of it. A reason you should know." Her heart pounded. She had imagined confessions before, but the weight in his tone made it impossible to ignore. "Ben, what is it?" she asked softly. He took a deep breath, his eyes finally meeting hers. "It's not just me. It's my dad. He's been struggling, and he asked me to look after the people he cares about. You're one of those people." Emma felt a shiver run through her. She remembered Mr. Harper, the quiet man who had always been polite but distant. She had never imagined that his son would be the messenger of something so profound. I wanted to make sure you were happy," Ben continued, his voice soft but firm, "even in small ways. That's why I left the notes, the flowers. That's why I—" He paused, searching for the words. "That's why I've been trying to make your days brighter." Emma's throat tightened. The realization hit her like a wave. The gestures, the thoughtfulness, the quiet attention, it was all part of a deeper plan, one born of love and care that had silently surrounded her all along. She felt a strange mix of gratitude, surprise, and something else she could not name. For a long moment they sat in silence, the rain falling softly outside, filling the room with a quiet, reflective peace. Emma realized that she had been wrong to dismiss his gestures as mere kindness. There was meaning behind them, a deliberate, thoughtful love that was expressed not in words, but in consistent, heartfelt actions. Finally, she spoke, her voice trembling slightly. Ben, I had no idea. Thank you for everything. I gave a small, hopeful smile, relief evident in his expression. I just wanted you to know the truth, because you deserve that. Emma nodded, feeling a warmth she hadn't felt in years. She had thought it was just a sweet gesture. Nothing more. But now she understood. It had always been so much more than that. The rain continued outside, swashing over the quiet street, but inside Emma's home, something had shifted. A new understanding had formed between them, delicate yet undeniable. And for the first time, in a long time, she allowed herself to feel hope, curiosity, and a quiet excitement for what might come next. Emma sat on her couch, staring at the small handmade candle Ben had left her last week. The soft lavender scent lingered in the room, but her mind was far away, replaying his words over and over. His confession had been gentle, quiet, yet it carried a weight she hadn't expected. She had thought his gestures were just kind, small acts of friendliness, but now the truth was out. It wasn't just him. His father had asked Ben to look out for her, to bring some light into her days. The realization made Emma feel something she hadn't felt in years, a mixture of warmth, gratitude, and a hint of something deeper, something like longing. She traced the rim of her tea mug absent-mindedly, thinking of the moments she had spent noticing him in small ways. The way his eyes softened when he smiled, the careful attention he always paid to her little preferences. There was an unspoken connection between them, and now she understood that it had never been one-sided. Later that evening, there was another knock at the door. Her heart fluttered when she saw Ben standing there, looking slightly awkward, his hair damp from the evening drizzle. "Hi, Mrs. Harper," he said softly. He shifted his weight from one foot to the other as if gathering courage. "Can I come in? I wanted to explain more." Emma hesitated but stepped aside, feeling an unexplainable pull toward him. "Course, Ben, come in." He entered quietly, removing his jacket and leaving it on the coat rack. The room was warm, softly lit, and the sound of rain against the window made the space feel intimate, almost private. Ben moved to sit opposite her on the couch, hands clasped nervously, his eyes searching hers. "I know what I did might have seemed strange. We started, all the flowers, the notes, the little gifts. I wanted them to feel natural, but I was hiding the reason behind them. My dad, he wanted me to make sure you were happy. He cares about you in a way that he doesn't always express." Emma's chest tightened. She had always known Mr. Harper as polite but distant. Seeing his son now, hearing his words, she realized how much quiet care and thoughtfulness had been behind the small gestures she had come to treasure. "I'm sorry if it felt confusing," Ben continued, "or if I don't know, made you uncomfortable. That was never my intention. I just wanted to show that someone noticed, that someone cared." Emma nodded, feeling a lump in her throat. "It didn't make me uncomfortable. It meant a lot. More than I realized." She paused, trying to find the right words. "I just didn't know why at first, but now I see." Ben gave a small, relieved smile. "I was nervous about telling you the truth. I didn't know how you'd react." "Glad you did," Emma said softly. She felt a mix of emotions swirling inside her, relief, curiosity, and something tender that she hadn't allowed herself to feel in a long time, to explain so much, and it makes me feel special in a way I haven't felt in years. Ben's eyes softened, and for a moment the room was silent except for the gentle patter of rain. He leaned forward slightly, as if considering his next words carefully. "I want to be honest with you, Mrs. Harper, not just about why I've been doing these things, but about how I feel. Really noticed you for a long time. I wanted to make your days brighter because you deserve that." Emma's heart raced. She had sensed a connection before, but hearing it put into words made her chest ache with something she couldn't name. She wanted to reach out, to tell him that she had felt it too, that the gestures, the care, the attention, they had touched her more deeply than she was ready to admit. I, I've noticed you too, Ben, she said quietly, her voice trembling slightly. I didn't understand it at first, but I think I've been waiting for something like this without even realizing it. Ben's smile widened, a mix of hope and relief. You mean it? Emma nodded. Yes, I do. The room seemed to grow warmer, the space between them shrinking without a word. They didn't need to define everything yet, didn't need to rush into declarations or promises. For the first time in a long time, they simply shared the quiet understanding that had grown between them. Over the next few weeks, their bond deepened naturally. They spent more time together, usually under the guise of simple neighborly visits. Emma found herself enjoying Ben's company more than she expected. They would sit on the porch in the evenings, talking about books, music, and small everyday events. Ben had a gentle humor that made her laugh in ways she hadn't in years. And she found herself looking forward to the moments when he would drop by unexpectedly. One evening, Ben brought a small notebook with him. I started keeping track of little things, he said, a little embarrassed. Notes about, well, everything I notice about this street, about people, about the world. I thought you might like it. Emma laughed softly, touched. Ben, this is amazing. I feel like I'm seeing the world through your eyes. Silly, he admitted, but I like noticing things. It makes me feel connected even to people I care about. Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest. I like that about you. You notice things most people overlook. And somehow, that makes every small moment meaningful. Ben looked at her, eyes serious now. You've made me realize something too. That small things matter. That caring isn't always about big gestures, it's about showing up, being present, paying attention. That's what I want with you, if you'll let me. Emma's heart ached in the best way possible. She felt a gentle pull toward him, a quiet longing she had tried to ignore but could no longer. I want that too, she admitted. The days continued in this rhythm, simple yet charged with a quiet intimacy. Emma started noticing the small ways Ben made her life brighter. Leaving a favorite snack on her counter, sending her a text just to wish her a good morning, stopping by with flowers he picked from the local park. Each act was thoughtful, deliberate, and heartfelt, and each left her feeling more connected to him. One Sunday afternoon, Ben invited Emma to help him with a small project in his backyard. He was setting up a tiny garden for his father, wanting to bring some color to their yard. Emma joined him, hands brushing occasionally as they planted flowers, their laughter mingling with the soft rustle of leaves. It felt natural, easy, and full of an unspoken understanding. Your dad would be proud of this, Emma said, pausing to admire the neat rows of blooms. Ben smiled, looking at her. He's proud of more than just the garden, he said softly. He's proud of me for caring, for trying to do right by the people we love. Emma felt her chest tighten. And I'm proud of you too, Ben, for being thoughtful, for noticing me. The moment hung between them, gentle and charged. There was no rush, no pressure, only a quiet acknowledgement of the bond that had grown steadily. Almost imperceptibly, but now felt undeniable. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in soft shades of pink and gold, Ben handed her a small flower he had picked from the garden. For you, he said, his voice low but sincere. Emma accepted it, holding it carefully as though it were a fragile treasure. Thank you, she whispered, feeling the connection between them deepen with every heartbeat. Days later, Ben's father, Mr. Harper, approached Emma in the yard. He had been quiet for years, polite but distant, and Emma had never expected a conversation with him to feel significant. But today there was warmth in his eyes and a softness in his voice that made her heart flutter. Emma, he began, I want you to know, everything Ben has done, he's done with care. Yes, but also with the right intention. He sees you, and he wanted you to know that you mattered to both of us. Emma felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. I understand now, she said softly. It's been a lot to take in, but I feel grateful for both of you. Mr. Harper nodded, smiling gently. He's a good boy, and he's right. You deserve to be seen, to be appreciated. As he walked away, Emma realized just how much her world had shifted. The small gestures, the notes, the flowers, they had all been part of a plan to show her that she was valued, cherished, and noticed. And the person behind it, Ben, had become someone she not only admired but cared for deeply. One rainy evening, as they sat together on her porch, sipping tea and watching the street glisten with reflections of streetlights, Ben reached out and gently took her hand. Emma, he said softly, I don't want this to be just gestures anymore. I want more. I want us to be honest about what we feel. Emma looked at him, her heart full. I feel it too, Ben. I think I've been feeling it for a while, just afraid to admit it. He smiled, relief and joy shining in his eyes. Then let's take this one step at a time, he said. No rush, no pressure, just us. Emma nodded, squeezing his hand. In that moment, she realized that the quiet longing she had felt for years, the subtle warmth in her chest, had found its match. It wasn't just about small gestures anymore. It was about connection, understanding, and the possibility of love that had quietly grown between them. As the rain continued outside, Emma felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. The truth had been revealed, hearts had been opened. And what had started as a simple act of kindness had blossomed into something far deeper. And in the quiet intimacy of that rainy evening, surrounded by the soft glow of her home, Emma allowed herself to hope, to feel, and to embrace the possibility of a future with Benna. Future built on honesty, care, and the small but powerful gestures that had brought them together.